Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva
and this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder.
and Liz.
And this is part 2 of murders in places with ironic names.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
calling them dumb names, but
dumb
like you were
names, yeah.
nicer.
I guess
Dumb name
Bumblebee
murders.
Road isn't dumb. It's cute, Easy
Yeah.
Street is kind of cool. But I'm about to definitely give lend a little, what do you call it, legitimacy to you calling them dumb with my
Dumb names,
story.
yeah.
Yeah. Really quick, guys, follow us on Instagram. Should we just call it out? We haven't done that in a while. It's like we stopped doing
Yeah.
it. All
Twisted
right, so
Listeners PCast.
there we go. You can join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/twistedlisters. If you'd like to send us an email with case suggestions, you can do that at
twistedlistenerspod@gmail.com.
and we have a website that sells stickers, and you can go there, and that address is
twistedlistenerspod.com.
woo.
Did I
Okay.
remember them all correctly?
You did. I feel like it's been ages since we did that, but we also
quiz.
had our little vacation and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm almost ready. I know I've been saying this for like 2 months, but I'm almost ready for my Patreon. I just don't want to miss anything, but I also don't want it to be boring. So I'm trying to I have all the notes on like note cards essentially, but like in a computer. And I'm starting to slowly like put them into, I forgot what it's like to do like hardcore research. It brought me back to like my like university, like college days.
Wow.
Where you just put a bunch of thoughts down and then you organize them and then you like connect them. Yeah.
I need to do like a quicker Patreon too to get out like after yours, because I was going to do DC Sniper and I started it and it was like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah, that's how I feel about mine. Yeah.
It's like a dissertation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing Gerard John Schaefer for anybody who wants to know, also known as the Hangman, and it's just so much information. Yeah. So it's taking a little longer than anticipated, but I am
something
getting
to
there.
Look forward to.
Yeah, totally. But in any case, should we get into it? I was so tired on the last episode, you guys. I listened to it today and I was like, God damn. You were talking and I was just like, uh-huh. And it's funny because I was listening, but like my energy in responses sounded like I was like
your pep, your zest level.
There was no zest. I was zest free.
It's okay. Well, you were just introducing stuff and talking. I just yawned like 8 times. So it's
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You're right there with me. Yeah. Well, today I'm feeling a little zestier and peppier for this.
We can at least try to channel our tiredness into like punchiness. You know what I mean? Like weirdness rather than
yeah. Oh yeah.
Low energy.
Yeah.
So
rather than low energy. Let's try.
Yeah.
So sorry guys if I was bringing the energy level down on the last podcast, I apologize. I was just like, God damn, I'm like,
don't bring down the murder mood.
Yeah, I'm like an energy vampire in that hour. So whatever. Anyway, okay. Here we go. So I'm going first. And I'm going to talk about Booger Hole, West Virginia.
Yes, I was very proud of this find. For Booger Hole to have murders, I was like, wow, what a gift.
Not even like one, but like many murders.
What a gift.
What a gift indeed. This is the gift of this entire list. Like this is the one. And thank you for letting me take it. Yeah, it truly is the crown jewel. So now that we've talked about how cool this is, let me tell you why. So Booger Hole, West Virginia is an unincorporated area of Clay County. West Virginia, I have driven through Virginia and West Virginia, and I have to tell you, it is fucking boring. Now, I drove through in like March and there was still snow everywhere. And so you would just be driving and it would just be like, just snow, trees, snow-covered trees. And then once every like 30 miles, like small shack. And like that was basically it.
Yeah.
And my family's actually from West Virginia and Virginia area and also Arkansas. So no shade, no hate. But my God, I was like gonna fall asleep driving through there because it was just like 8 hours of that. It was insane. Anyway, so this is part of the Appalachian Mountains. So already a very creepy and weird place. And just to be clear, it was called Booger Hole before all of these murders. So a lot of people that write about this or talk about this will say, oh, it's called Booger Hole because of the boogeyman. It was named after the boogeyman because it's a scary place. In fact, history shows that it was called that prior to any of these murders. Okay. So we don't really know why it's called this. It doesn't have a town name. So I don't know. When people send mail, are they sending it to Booger Hole? I don't know. I'd like to think yes. Anyway, these are very old-timey murders. They date back into the early 1880s. And just to jump right in, the first murder took place in 1883 when stonemason Andrew Andy Hargis went missing while traveling from the nearby town of Ilana to Booger Hole. So he's going down the road on his way to Booger Hole. And he just vanished into thin air, essentially. He had, at the time, $300 in his pocket, which if you can imagine how much money that is in 1883, it's a lot of money. And he was given this by his aunt, who had got this money through fraudulent means and was later, in fact, arrested for forging a pension document to get herself $1,000, which is probably like $50,000 now. We don't know why Andy was given the money, but he did have it on his person when he disappeared. At the time, there were no leads or arrests in this case. They had no idea where this man went. Okay. In 1897, Joseph Clark, a watchmaker, I don't know where he was from, but he'd stopped for the night and decided to sleep in the Booger Hole schoolhouse. Now, this was apparently an unused building. And, you know, we're all used to seeing like fenced up, you know, schools at this point. But this is when it was just a big building, A-frame, you know, one big building that all the kids would go in. And he slept in there. The next morning, he was gone. He was never seen after that. All they did find was a trail of blood from the schoolhouse down to the nearby creek. Another man whose name I could not find was also murdered that year. And again, no leads on his murder. 4 years later, in 1901, an elderly woman named Lacey Ann Boggs moved with her niece into an abandoned schoolhouse. Now, unclear if it was the same one. I'd like to think yes.
Yeah, that would be spooky.
It would. So Lacey was a strong and outspoken woman. She smoked a pipe. She had quite a mouth on her, which for 1901 was not always a safe way to live as a woman. And she was older, obviously. And it was because of these things that many people believed that she was a witch. And as this wasn't a particularly educated area, refer back to all the closed schoolhouses.
Yeah.
And it was 1901. This made people quite afraid of her. Not long after moving into the schoolhouse, Lacey was shot in the back through the window and killed. Now, Lacey had been in the community for a very long time prior to this, but she had moved into the schoolhouse in 1901, and it was here that she was killed. Now, this murder happened very shortly after Lacey had said that she knew where the body of Andy Hargis could be found. Andy Hargis was the first murder from 1883 with the $300 in his pocket. The rumor of this time was that the way that she found out where Andy was that she had cast a spell on the man responsible and told him she would not remove the spell until he told her the location of the body.
Okay.
So this was an interesting lead. You know, maybe it was this guy who killed her. Maybe it was somebody else who just didn't want the body to be found. But more people in town thought that it was more likely her neighbor, a man by the name of Old Man Cottrell, who said that Lacey had threatened him after he borrowed one of her horses and returned it tired and dirty. He said that this old witch Lacey threatened to ride him until he was in as bad a shape as her horse. And that after Lacey had threatened him, now our minds are going to a very different place because we're dirty minded and it's, 2023.
Yeah.
But what he meant when he said that was very different. And what he said happened was after she threatened him, While he would sleep, he would be called to Lacey by a witch call, which would draw him through her window like a bird. So basically, take his spirit from his body and bring him to her. After which she would transform him with witchcraft into a horse and ride both him and his son on horseback, like put them on like a, like a carriage and ride them until they were so tired they could hardly move.
So that is not ride in the sexual way. It is ride in the very literal horse way.
Yes, we're not talking about genuine here. We're talking about 1901.
Gonna make you an actual horse, and
I'm going to ride you, put a bit in your mouth and make you run.
Oh my
he
God.
said when he would wake up in the morning, his mouth was full of burrs and he was too exhausted to get out of bed. And he said that this went on for weeks.
Okay.
And what I want to say here is, my man, you were having nightmares because you believed she was a witch. I don't personally.
Sounds like a pretty solid spell to me, Cindy. I don't know. Sounds like that worked.
It's possible. I feel like this guy just was real easy to kind of, suggest. He was very, easily persuaded, and she got in his head and he started having bad dreams about her. But all this being said, he went to trial and he claimed he didn't kill her, and he and his son were both acquitted. Now, the official reason that they were both acquitted was lack of evidence, but my thinking is that everybody probably agreed she was a witch, and they were like, we don't really care. We don't really care that she's dead.
Yeah.
So still, we're at 3, 4 unsolved murders at this point? From here, things quieted down for a little while, but in 1917, there were more murders. 23-year-old Preston Tanner moved to town with his young, pretty wife, 21-year-old O.C. Tanner. The two had a small son and were a quiet and happy family. Sometime in January of 2017, while O.C. was visiting her parents out of town, Preston's body was found burned inside his family's cabin, which was also burned partially to the ground. Upon further inspection, it turned out that his head had been smashed in with something hard before he was burned. There was also an oil lamp found under his bed, which was the origin of the fire.
Okay.
Pretty quickly, police found their prime suspects when many people came forward to point the finger at Howard Sampson, a 21-year-old man who had openly expressed interest in Preston's wife, and his father, 57-year-old Andrew Sampson. So this town really likes to gossip, and I feel like there's a lot of open secrets. I feel like open secrets is a recurring theme in small towns. Everybody knows who did something, but nobody knows who did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's crazy to me how, like, that is a small town mentality that works like 100% of the time. Like, I have the biggest fucking mouth. I would get murdered so quick in a small town because they would just want to shut me up. Like, I know it. Like, fucking crazy. Anyway, so one man testified at the trial of Howard and Andrew Sampson, because they did go to trial, that Howard told him he was willing to kill Preston to have his wife all for himself. And later, O.C. herself testified that Howard told her he was willing, Howard told her that if she didn't take up with him within 60 days, she would be sorry. So he told her, I want you to be my wife. She was like, no, thank you, sir. I'm married with a child. He was like, you're either going to take me up on this offer or you're going to fucking regret it. So, yeah. There was also evidence that Howard had gone to Preston's house the night that O.C. had gone to visit her parents and the night that Preston was killed to play, I think, dominoes or cards or something. And yeah, so that puts him at the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, Carolyn Moore, a local woman, had been found by the police, again through town gossip, to know something about the murder of Andy Hargis, the first murder dating back to 1883. And as a reminder,
connected. It's a conspiracy.
We're now in 1917 again, right? So she said that her brother, James Moore, and their brother-in-law, John Lyons, had been with Carolyn when they tied her up inside a white sheet, basically rendering her immobile and blinded by the sheet covering. Somehow she gnawed her way through the sheet and made an eye hole from where she watched the two men bring the body of Andy Hargis into their house, also wrapped in a sheet. She said that they buried him under the house, but later burned his body and reburied it elsewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. James Moore was seemingly haunted by this murder for years before being found out, and would often stare into space as though he was seeing a ghost. When police looked under the house, they found charred clumps of hair and quite a few items with Andy Hargis's initials on them. So pretty good proof that he had been under that house, just like Carolyn had said. So now we have these two murders being prosecuted at once, and you would think that that would have brought some justice to good old Booger Hole. But you would be wrong.
Okay.
James Moore and John Lyons were both found not guilty due to lack of evidence, even though they found charred hair and remains and items belonging to Andy Hargis under their house. They still were like, we can't prove that you did it, so they were acquitted.
Wow.
23-year-old Howard Sampson was found guilty of the murder of Preston Tanner because, like, obviously he was there. He had motive, you know. He was given a life sentence, but his father was acquitted. And I don't have enough information to know why that would upset the townspeople, but it sounds to me like his father was definitely involved, at least according to like the response to him being acquitted. Yeah. So 1 out of, 4 people served time for these murders. And the citizens of Booger Hole were very angry. So angry that they formed a mob. But this mob, it was like the most like chill mob ever.
That's not usually what you get. Yeah.
Right. They didn't like go burn down the courthouse or whatever. They wrote a letter. They put a letter in the paper. And this letter in the paper said, "We, the citizens of Clay County, seeing that we cannot get justice by law, have organized the Clay County mob. We have pledged our lives to drive these people from our country or kill them. If we cannot catch and hang you, we will sneak up on you and kill you as you killed Andy Hargis, Lacey Ann Boggs, the old peddler, and Preston Tanner." The old peddler being I don't know who the old peddler. Oh, that's the one that I didn't know about, that I couldn't like. Okay. Oh no, it was the watchmaker. But there was another guy too. Okay. Anyway. "If before you leave there is any stealing, killing, or burning, we will get the bloodhounds and detectives and run you to the ends of the earth. Nil Sampson, Cooch Sampson, Fred Moore, and Aaron Runyon are hereby notified to leave the state in 10 days. Rose Lyons, Bill Moore, and Elizabeth Sampson are notified to leave in 30 days. P.S. Do not stop this side of the Ohio River."
They're just like, get the fuck out. Justice wasn't done, but also get the fuck out.
Yeah, they're like, you need to leave and your families need to leave. And if you don't fucking leave, we're going to kill you. And if you try to pull any shit before you leave, we're going to hunt you down. And very fucking scary. I also wanted to mention really quickly that Howard Sampson was released from his life sentence after 5 years, because of course he was, and went on to marry a woman, then kill her, and then himself in 1953. Mm-hmm. So good job, justice system, letting that guy out, because he sounded stable, right? Okay. Yeah. Burned a man alive so he could steal his unwilling wife. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, very casual.
Yeah. So anyway, this mob did seem to scare people straight, as the murders pretty much stopped after that. But of course, even up to today, there are ghosts and ghost sightings. There's the ever classic woman in the white dress crying and weeping and moaning. There is a dog that you'll hear barking and running down the road that then disappears.
Love a ghost dog.
Yeah, there's quite a few tales of interactions with ghosts. One person said that they heard the woman in white weeping and walking along the road, and they were opposite her. She was going to kind of walk past them. And they said that they were going to make a noise when she walked past them to see what would happen. But instead of walking past them, she just floated up into the air and disappeared. So lots of creepy, spooky stuff in Booger Hole, West Virginia. Anyway, yeah. So that's the story. Mostly, unsolved. But yeah, kind of wild.
I love it. I love old-timey murders. I love Booger Hole, and I love ghosts. And also, West Virginia is spooky in general. I recently learned that is where Mothman comes from.
Yes, I was going to tell you, there's
West Virginia.
Yeah, so there's Mothman, there's a few others, but the ones that aren't given specific names are just called boogeymen. So if they
Like
don't, if
like
moth,
cryptids.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Although, yeah, long live Mothman. Woo, love the Mothman.
Love
Yeah,
him. Yeah,
love
he's
him.
great.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, Mothman. And also, I've been like watching a couple like travel, or I don't know what to call it, like exploring like videos of people who go to crazy places around the world. And there's a series of dudes who just been going to West Virginia and making these videos, talking to people in like insane former coal country in like Appalachia, where everyone lost their jobs and everyone's on fentanyl.
Hmm.
And like that is a wild place. That is a
Uh,
crazy fucking place.
yeah, dude, the middle of the country is wacky,
But
like
West Virginia, like right on that belt
specifically.
where all the
Yeah,
coal people lost their jobs and now they're all on opiates, like
yeah.
that stretch of places is like are bananas.
There's
Like,
a lot, I mean, there's a lot of areas out there that are
yeah,
similar. Having driven through there, it was really eye-opening to kind of see the
yeah.
way that world, it's such a different world than where we are. Like we have no
And it
fucking
looks
idea.
really dystopian too. Like it's really dilapidated, and like it looks like a video game where, you know, the whole apocalypse happened and everything's like was prosperous and it's all destroyed. And
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that like Hollywood will go to all these like big lengths to like create that. I'm like, just go
just go to
shoot in
West
the
Virginia.
Midwest. Yeah, just
Yeah,
go to any like small town because America is destroying small towns and their
yeah,
way of living, and it's really sad.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Booger Hole is still unincorporated. It still has a very small population, but it's still there. A lot of people are like, please don't go there and try to like harass the residents. All of this ended over 100 years
Right.
ago. They don't know what's going on. So
Still spooky.
it is though, right? I know I really like that
Yeah,
one. I
it's still
like that.
fun.
Yeah. All
Right.
right, what's
Well,
yours, friend?
we should have switched because yours is kind of fun and mine is like not at all fun.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. This is what I'm calling the Morey family murders, which kind of gives it all away, but that's okay. And I picked this, or rather, it fits our theme because I think the name of the town, Fishkill, New York, is stupid.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's a dumb name. It's a bit bigger of a town compared to some of the other ones we found. It has about 20,000 people.
Okay.
Still small. But yeah, I don't know why. I meant to look up like why is this town named Fishkill? It's probably after a
Yeah.
guy like Sir William Fishkill or something.
Yeah.
Um, but still,
Probably.
it's
I
a
like
dumb
that
name.
Sir William Fishkill. Is that really a
Yeah,
guy or did you just make that
I
up?
know. I just made that up. That's my theory, my working theory on why
I was
this
convinced. You
town's.
could have been like, no, that's a guy. Like he's
Yeah,
a lord. I'd have been like, I
I can't
totally
think
believe
of
you.
I can't think of a logical other reason why this town is named Fishkill, but that's where we're going.
Okay.
And it's 2007 in beautiful scenic Fishkill. So, and also it's helpful that the kill is in the name as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's great. So we're gonna meet a family, an interesting family here. The Morey family, Morey, consists of Manuel or Tony, which doesn't relate to Manuel, but that's okay. Tony Morey, who's 33, his 30-year-old wife Tina, and their three kids: 13-year-old Tony Jr., 10-year-old Adam, and 6-year-old Ryan. So
Okay.
together, they all live in kind of a highway that's in a very rural part of the small town of Fishkill. By all accounts, they are a normal family. Well, I shouldn't say that. By some accounts, they are a normal family who's happy and love each other. They love doing outdoor activities. But very quickly, like there's a lot of family and friends who have glowing things to say about Tony and Tina. Obviously, the kids are just kids. They haven't done anything wrong here. Um, but Tony did reportedly have some issues with drinking and drugs, and not all was as it seems here.
Mm-hmm.
On the surface. It's because Tony also dealt drugs, specifically cocaine and I believe weed, which I gotta say is a bold move when you have three kids. Like that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a rough choice, I think.
Yes, it is.
So police had been to the house 3 times in the year prior for unspecified reasons. I'm not sure if it's drug related or something else.
Mm-hmm.
His landlord, they were renting that house, and his landlord was not a big fan of the family. It was actually actively in the process of evicting them. at
Oh,
this
wow.
time.
Okay.
Yes, because Tony and Tina like to throw large and frequent giant ragers of parties and
Uh-uh.
destroy the lawn riding ATVs
That
at
sounds kind
said
of fun.
parties, which is kind of a funny like rural New York image. Like they would basically have drug and drink fueled parties, get drunk, probably do a bunch of coke, get in the ATV, destroy the lawn,
Mhm.
accost and yell at people, and the landlord's like, please get out.
I'm gonna look up where this is. Fish kill.
Fish kill. Yeah. Um, so that's what they are. And as we'll see, he and his friends are all really into ATVs, all terrain vehicles, where you drive like off-roading basically.
Yeah.
That's what they're into.
Okay.
So
Oh, there's a
yeah.
Cracker Barrel there. Look out.
Oh no. So yeah, it has small town vibes for sure. This
For sure.
and I'm none of this is to say that this is all terribly wrong, although you probably shouldn't deal drugs if you have kids, nor should you probably have crazy drug fueled parties with kids.
Yeah.
But so I'm not sure how the kids factor into all of this, or like how responsible of parents they are. I can't totally pass judgment, but I'm also passing like a little judgment.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just wanted to find out because I know I've talked about Poughkeepsie and like my experience
It's
there
near
and
there.
how
It's near there.
it is. It's like 12 miles away from there,
Yeah.
15,
Yeah. It's in a
and
weird part of upstate. Yeah.
yeah, Poughkeepsie is rough. Poughkeepsie's
Hmm.
interesting, like so many dilapidated like homes, like 2 stories that are just like they could be so beautiful and they're just like falling
Yeah.
apart and like really gnarly. And I feel like that's the vibes over there.
Yeah, it's not quite Booger Hole, but it does have
No, no.
but it does have rural weirdo vibes for sure.
It does, and it's
Um,
weird because if you go more into the middle of New York, upstate, it's like very beautiful and very
mhm.
expensive. But if
Yep,
you go toward the Hudson River, it just kind of all falls apart. So pretty interesting.
it is. Yeah. It's because you're getting closer to Appalachia, and the energy is like
It
it's
is.
like a
It's like a vortex, like
pulling
pulling
you
everybody
in. Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so here we're on the border of Appalachia. Yeah. So that's just and not all of that like factors into what's to come per se, but just to
Hmm.
paint a picture of the vibe here, of what's going on.
Gotcha.
Um, So January 19th, 2007, police are alerted that the Morey family home is on fire. When they get
Okay.
there, they find the house completely engulfed in flames, like very much in flames. When they start pulling, um, they find the kids first and start pulling them outside, and they notice right away that they actually have like trauma and stab wounds. So they pretty much right away are like, these kids are dead, but they weren't killed by
Oh,
fire.
that's so sad. That's really
Yeah,
sad.
it's
And
really
also, like,
gruesome.
similar to my story, it's like they always try to murder people and then light them on fire, and it's like, that
Mm-mm.
doesn't work most of the time. Like,
No,
no.
no. And the firefighters who pulled the kids out were like really, really, really traumatized. They like talked about
Mm,
how scarred they were and like started
yeah.
crying while they were talking about it. And then they flashed to like
Oof.
a photo, like anecdotally taken of them right after this, like at the scene, and they all look like ghosts, like totally pale,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
It's a little PTSD there for them.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
So first responders actually couldn't find Tina or Tony at first, but after a closer examination, they find Tina towards the back of the house.
Okay.
And further examination shows that this is where the fire was likely started, because it was super burnt, but it was uneven, and like that
Okay.
was the part where they were was more burnt, for sure.
Mm, okay.
So there's no sign of forced entry at the house, which is
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Tuck that in your pocket.
Okay.
An axe handle was found in one of the boys' bedrooms. To give me a little sneak peek to the
Wait,
murder
say that
weapon
ag
here.
what was in the bedroom?
In the
Or the
boys' bedroom,
bathroom?
they found boys' bedroom.
Oh,
They found an
bedroom.
axe handle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, there's a bloody palm print on a stair post, so the murderer is not being super clean about this.
Yeah.
You might be wondering, where's Tony?
Yeah.
Where'd he go? So tire tracks in the snow in front of the house indicate that someone drove away in the family's Kia. And on a street nearby the home, investigators pretty quickly find the family's Kia ablaze, on
Okay.
fire. But there's no sign of Tony, and for like a hot minute there, he's actually strongly suspected, right? Because that would make sense. Like, you
Yeah.
kill your family, you do a family annihilation, you'd fucking drive away, right?
In the
Like,
family car that you own. Yeah.
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 So that's strongly looked at. Um, but, and this is horrific, on yet another close search through the crime scene at the house, and another rather a closer look at Tina's body, they find that the heat was so great that Tony's body, quote unquote, melded with hers.
Oh God. Oh my God.
So yeah,
Oh, that's rough.
he like melted.
That's so
Yeah,
rough. I
yeah,
didn't expect you to say that, to be honest.
yeah. Cindy's
Ugh.
making faces. It's really gross.
Ugh. Dude, the fuck.
That's really
Ugh.
gross.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is.
and the fact that they couldn't find him at all, like that he was like
Yeah.
not detectable, that's like so gross.
That's also like crazy how hot that was. Like that's
Yeah.
fucking wild to me.
Yeah, and it makes you think maybe they were even like they were set on fire. Like I didn't see that anywhere, but it kind of makes me think that.
I mean, it sounds like it. Yeah, that
Yeah,
stands to
yeah,
reason for
because
sure.
they did say that was the hottest point of the fire. So I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
seems like
Yeah,
that's what was happening.
yeah.
So, or it was started very close to them. So okay, so it gets grosser, worse. I mean, that was pretty peak gross, but
Hey.
um,
Yeah.
an autopsy examination determines that both Tony and Tina were shot. I'm not sure how they managed to do Tony's with so little of his body, but Tony was shot once in the neck, and Tina was shot in the chest and the head.
Okay.
The two older children, and again they're 13 and 10, were both stabbed many times.
So this person's like totally fine fucking up children.
Yeah. And little 6-year-old Ryan's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head.
Mm-mm. That's not cool.
So, yeah, all
That's
kinds of
fucked.
questions, which I will not have answers for, but you just wonder, like, I mean, if their parents are shot first, are these kids just like terrified? Are they getting killed one by one? Like, it's horrifying to imagine their fear,
Right.
because being stabbed and bludgeoned is a slower way to die.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
they went execution style. It's like they
Ugh.
actually saved the worst ways to die for the kids.
Mm-hmm. That's so
Which,
fucked. That's really like an extra
yeah,
level of fuck you, to like
yeah,
be
yeah,
that fucking cold. That's crazy to me.
yeah.
Ugh.
It is confirmed that the whole family was dead before the fire started, so the fire was more an effort to cover up evidence. It didn't actually kill them.
Okay. So this horrible, gory scene
Yeah.
all transpired first.
Yes.
Okay.
So what the fuck? Who could have done this to the Morey
Indeed.
family? Yeah, detectives discover Tony's like kind of drug dealing practices and wonder if maybe that led to the foul play, right? Or there's some connection there, because that's not great to be doing. So maybe
Yeah.
he made some unfortunate connection there.
Yeah.
Um, so they find a drug associate of Tony's who was at the time in prison, who
Okay.
lets police know that Tony actually had a lockbox filled with cash and drugs under his bed, and that was not found at the scene. So
There was
interesting.
a little theft component here.
A little bit of a theft.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a motive moment.
Mm-hmm.
They also find a BFF of Tony's named Charles Galeo, whom he had grown up with and went to high school with. And when they interview Charles, his interview raises many red flags. Firstly, he shows up with cuts on his forehead. And he said he was ATVing, riding those all-terrain vehicles in the woods, as he and Tony loved to do so frequently while probably on drinking and on drugs.
Yes. Yes.
But when pressed about like this incident, he said he was also wearing a helmet. So they're like, well, that's a weird way to get a scratch on your head while you're wearing a helmet. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
His alibi isn't amazing as well. They said he said he was drinking with his friend Mark Serrano at his home, and they're like, okay, that's it. That's all you got. They are also able to find Tony's distributor of cocaine, like the person who sold it to him to sell.
Okay.
And he says that the night of the murders, he actually sold drugs to Charles Galeo and Mark Serrano. And interestingly, Charles did not mention that in his "we were at home drinking" alibi. So they're like, you didn't mention when you left the house to get coke, which of course you wouldn't mention that to the police, but
right. But it's still, yeah, it's always interesting to me when people withhold shit like that, and it's like, you're making yourself look worse. They're gonna find out. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So dumb.
So investigators then discover a really miraculous coincidence. A cop patrol car was patrolling the area of the Morey family home. Just so happened that they were doing that at the time of the murder, and they had something called a mobile plate hunter, which is slightly frightening, and I'm not quite sure what the use of it is, but basically it scans all of the license plates that are passing it or going around it in any way.
Okay.
Again, don't know why cops need this. They have a lot of cop technology that I don't understand.
Yeah, that I'm just not really like down for.
It's probably all bad. But in this one case, it comes in handy. So they were scanning everyone's license plates, just
yeah, great.
Every single one. But then,
here's a reason why that's not fucking terrible, right? No.
Yeah, this is just one time. So wouldn't you know it, but this scanner spotted Serrano's car right in by the home.
Okay.
So, okay, here we go.
There we go.
They then search a lake near Mark Serrano's home and find a knife, a gun, underwear stained with blood, and Tony's missing lockbox.
Okay.
Testing the underwear. All the evidence is going to come in. So they test the underwear, which is Mark's underwear, Mark Serrano's, and it's forensically identified to be covered in the Morey children's blood.
Oh my God, dude.
Child blood.
Why is underwear? Because he was in his underwear?
His underwear, I guess. I mean,
while he murdered, like to lessen the amount on his clothes or something?
I guess.
What a piece of shit.
I guess.
What a piece of shit. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's horrifying, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So they also find the gun in the lake that they find is determined to have been the one that killed Tony and Tina. They match up the bullets forensically. And after all this evidence is found, there's even more because they search Mark Serrano's home and they find car seat covers stuffed under his sink, which are also covered in the children's blood.
Jesus Christ.
And again, they're going to get more of the children's blood on them because they were stabbing them and bludgeoning them aggressively.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Mark Serrano is obviously fucking arrested, as is Charles Galeo. And Charles at first only admits to being with Mark that night, and they aren't able to find any evidence directly incriminating him. But this, the drug supplier, Tony's drug supplier, the one in prison, also separately tells investigators that he chatted with Charles right after the murders, but before the news actually broke in the news, and Charles told him the family was gone.
Okay. So there you go.
So that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good indication that, that's like, I always talk about the Amy Bradley case, but how the guy would like apologize to the brother. Like, I'm so sorry your sister is gone. And nobody was supposed to know at that point. I know, so gnarly. Anyway. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. I can always bring it back to one of my favorite cases.
Yeah. In 2007, Mark Serrano went to trial and Charles Galeo followed the following year. Mark testified against Charles in the latter's trial and claimed that it was actually Charles that shot Tony and then Tina and did like the majority of the murdering of the children. And Mark was just sort of following along. So that seems to have been what happened, or at least that's what the official story is. Who knows? But you may be asking at this point, like, we're almost done here. What was the motive for killing this entire family so brutally? You may be asking.
Yeah, I am.
So at trial, it was presented that it was literally just robbery for the fucking like lockbox.
Seriously?
Pretty much, yeah. Apparently, Charles was also angry and had like a grudge against Tony because Tony would no longer let him buy drugs on credit. Which, wow, what an arrangement! You're just gonna like have a drug debt to your friend and make him give you drugs, not pay him any money. Of course, Tony's gonna eventually like get sick of that.
So basically,
he was mad that he wasn't getting free drugs anymore. Yeah. And so he killed his whole family to get the drugs.
What the fuck,
and the money.
dude?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like wild to
That's so
wipe out a whole
crazy.
family for really petty drugs and
Bullshit
money
fucking
reasons. Yeah.
reasons. Yeah.
Really stupid.
Children, like young. That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, are you kidding
It's
me?
they're very shit people.
They really are.
Mark Serrano was obviously found guilty. He got 50 years to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole in 2056, so he's pretty much good, I think.
Mm.
He's pretty much set in prison. They seem to have bought the official story that, or this is what the prosecution must have said as well. I think that Charles did do the majority of the murdering, like he's the more guilty of the two. Although, frankly, if you come along for child murder, you're still kind of a piece of shit, right? Even if you're not doing it as much, you're still like horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when they fucking give the driver of the getaway car life in prison.
Right.
Because the guy who went inside and killed somebody, but then this guy, it's like they're going to take mercy on him, even though he was like actively fucking there. Like,
I mean, 50 years to life isn't like super merciful, so I think it's kind of like, okay.
No.
Yeah, it's not like you got a slap on the wrist. It's like pretty hefty. And he was like 30, so 50 years is kind of like, oh, you know,
yeah,
you're 80, you're fine. But Charles, like I said, because he did more of the murdering, he gets 5 life sentences with, I believe, no parole. So a sentence for each of the family members.
Wait, so if it's 50 years to life, does he get good behavior? You said 56? 2056?
He'll start getting eligible to parole in 2056.
Okay, so he can't get parole for the first 50 years. It has to be a minimum of 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, that's better. That's better.
He's pretty much fine.
For some reason, I was thinking like 50 to life, but then like oftentimes they'll like let you have parole after like half the sentence.
No, they're pretty much locked away. But it's like, yeah, it's really sad. And I know I kind of shit talked on Tony a little bit because they do sound like a silly group of guys and friends here, a silly group of adults. But obviously, he did not deserve to be murdered like this. Neither did, especially the children, for God's sakes. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, if you put
insane.
yourself in dangerous situations with bad people,
yeah,
but like you need to like not put your children in that position. And also like, why are they murdering the children? You know, that's fucked up.
I mean, like, even if you are sitting there judging Tony and Tina, which like that's your choice, the kids didn't deserve this at all.
No, but none of them did. I'm just saying, like,
none of them did. No,
it's absolutely not okay. Like back when I was like a teenager and used to like sell pot, like, you know, little fucking dime bags and shit. My house got broken into like a few times and like
it makes you really vulnerable.
It does, and it's like that's your choice, you know, like. But
but also what's scary too, I mean, and frustrating is that Charles and Tony were friends for life.
Yeah,
you know, so it's not like a recent drug connection that came into his life, this random guy. It's like he had known Charles ride or die his entire life. They've been BFFs. So
well, the guy who stole, most of the people who stole from me were like friends, and that's the thing. Yeah. It's never like a random person.
No, I know, but that's why there wasn't forced entries, because Tony probably let him into the house, like, "Hey, friend, what's up?"
Oh, that's so fucked up.
And he killed them all. So
it's just really interesting. Like people think like, oh, it was random guys that like broke into this drug house and like stole, and it's like, no, it's your friends. It's always your fucking friends. If you want to know who ripped you off, just look in your fucking friend circle. I hate to say it, and here's proof. You know.
Yeah, it's very fucked up.
Up in Fishkill.
Yes.
Which is 12 miles south of Poughkeepsie.
Yes.
On the Hudson River.
Fishkill, killings of Fishkill. Yeah, there's lots of puns you could make.
I feel like Poughkeepsie, it's not any, I don't know what that is. I like the name Poughkeepsie though. I don't know.
I don't know where the origin of Poughkeepsie is, but there is a famous murder from Poughkeepsie, right? Because that's what the Poughkeepsie tapes were based off of.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. I've always enjoyed saying Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie.
It's a fantastic horror movie if you want to see a serial killer like kill people.
Ooh, okay.
I forget what it's based off of. I'm going to tell you right now because it's almost Halloween.
It's time to watch scary
Halloween
movies
in my house.
Yeah. We wait till September 1st to get going, but also with Rory being sick, but we'll see. But
We watch scary movies all year long, as you know.
Oh, we do too, but like we'll decorate our house like September 1st and people will think we're psycho, and I really don't care. Like, I think we're awesome. I know we are.
I already got some jack-o'-lanterns up right now, dude.
Do you? I have all my pumpkins, but
Kendall Francois.
Kendall Francois.
You know him? I think he's made a couple of our lists. He's made a couple of our lists to lists of lists, but we've never actually done him.
Scary.
Yes.
that guy has a dead eyes. I don't say that a lot because they'll be like, oh, that guy like has dead eyes, and I'll look at him, I'm like, does he? I can't really tell. This guy has I don't even like looking at the picture of him. It's like really disconcerting. I do love that his nicknames were the Poughkeepsie Killer and then also Stinky.
Stinky. Yeah, the Stinky Killer or whatever.
Stinky.
I don't know how much the movie is based on him, literally, other than just
how it goes.
Location. I think it might literally just be the location of Poughkeepsie. That they have in common, but he is like the iconic Poughkeepsie Killer. So
that's really interesting. I'm going to read about this now instead of going to bed. So thank you for that.
Great. Yeah. What have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie? It would fuck you up.
No. The Poughkeepsie tapes?
Yeah, I know you and what scares you, and I think it would really fuck you up.
I don't know if I want to watch it.
I think you should watch it for Halloween. You should.
Okay, maybe I will. What are we doing next week?
Oh yeah, I'm going to do another surprise.
I know we really haven't talked about this.
Another surprise live on the air. I think it'll be good because I think you'll like it. I thought about it. I thought about running it by you, but I chose to surprise you.
I thought it was just because we're both fucking busy, but okay.
That too. But so last year around this time we did like Murdered on Campus as kind of like a back to school thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to do a slight spin on that, although there might also be murders that are on campus, but I wanted to do like academic murders. So teachers and professors that went crazy or murdered each other, or grad students killing their professors, which I think happens a lot. So,
that's crazy.
And vice versa, like kind of the murders of academia.
Okay, all right.
You know, college murders.
Could have done the Unabomber for this one too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which, P.S. guys, I didn't fucking mention the iconic Unabomber sketch because I forgot I had it in my notes and I just like skipped over it. So I do know about that sketch. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. If you listen to the Unabomber, I missed that. But anyway, he could have been, I mean, his whole thing, like...
He was killing faculty, and he was very academic himself.
He was.
Yeah.
So I know.
Also, I've spent a lot of time in academia myself, so I'll have lots of commentary.
I got out after my bachelor's. I was like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, I spent like a decade deep in it, mired in it like a swamp up to my elbows.
I don't love it. I don't love that for you, but
no,
it's over. We're here.
But I think it'll be a good like back to school topic.
I like that. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm into it. Okay, sweet.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Please like, rate, review, share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody. Shout it from the rooftops. Thanks for everybody's support. We love you, and until next week,
stay
off our
Liz.
Bye.